Good afternoon. I'm Troy Testmer, CEO of Soul Mobility, and I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning or afternoon, depending on what part of the country you're coming from. Obviously, today you've signed up for a review of the PowerFlex. With that, let's get into it. Real quick, we're going to do some team introductions to start us out. We're then going to go through the PowerFlex overview, some training videos that we've put together for everybody. And then we will spend some time on coding. And then at the end, we'll make sure we have the resources available for everybody to contact us, follow up, as well as book a demo and things like that. We'll end the session with a Q&A. Please use the Q&A feature that's on the right side of your screen. That will allow you to type in a question. You can also upvote or select a question that you want to make sure gets covered. And as those upvotes happen, we'll know what people are wanting to see and what they want to hear about at the end. All right, so our team real quick. The company was founded by Todd Hargroder. We're going to watch a little video about Todd here in a second, and myself. Todd and I met about 20 years ago. I used to work for a company called Sun Rims that did wheelchair wheels for Top End, Sunrise Medical, RGK, and I worked a lot in wheelchair sports, rugby, basketball, things like that. I then left that company. Todd and I continued to be great friends, and I worked with him for many years. And he called me up 4 or 5 years ago and asked if I wanted to join him on this journey, which I'm happy to do. My background is in product management, international sourcing, strategic planning, kind of everything, the nuts and bolts of running in a company. So I'm the behind the scenes person, making sure we get everything done, also assisting on sales and marketing. Todd's the founder, innovator, and obviously been in this industry for many years, which we'll learn more about. We've recently brought on a nice team. We have Jill Patty, Gareth Harwood, Christina Dara, and Karen Tessmer. Jill's going to be doing sales and marketing. Gareth really helping on social media, digital content, which you've been seeing a lot from us here recently, including the webinar materials. And then Chris will be helping out on the back office with our finance and planning. Karen's going to be helping on admin assistance, and that wonderful chocolate lab is my dog, Knox. With that, let's hear a little bit from our founder, Todd.
Hello, my name is Todd Hargroder, founder of Soul Mobility. On June 11th, 1986, I had a motorcycle accident and suffered a high-level spinal cord injury. I was out practicing on a track that I had ridden thousands of laps on, went over a jump, and ended up flying over the bars and knew my life would change forever. I spent about a year in and out of rehab hospitals. Throughout that time, I was issued a lot of product. Some of it worked, a lot did not. I started modifying those products to better suit my needs and drive for independence. And one thing led to another. That's how I started my first company, ADI. From my very first product, the transfer board, I grew that company to multiple product lines and selling in over 23 countries. Throughout a 20+ year period, I had multiple industry firsts, patents, and I've been recognized as a top innovator in the mobility industry. As a wheelchair user, I feel blessed to have a mind that is able to solve problems. I joke that I just make things for myself, but yet know that there's thousands of others out there that benefit each day from the products that we've designed and built over the years. After I sold ADI, I wasn't finished innovating and saw the product gap between manual and power, and that's when I started Soul Mobility. The world is not flat, and even with the best equipment available in the world, pushing is extremely difficult. And over 70% of manual wheelchair users experience some type of upper body pain or injury. As a 19-year-old, the power chair options available to me look like refrigerators. There's a lot more going from manual to power than most people think. The PowerFlex fills the gap between our lightweight manual wheelchairs and our large, dedicated 400-pound power chairs, providing a small, lightweight power drive attachment that converts manual wheelchairs to joystick-driven power in 30 seconds. The key points of the PowerFlex is the ride height that matches your manual chair. You're able to access standard height tables, which allows you to join in the conversation with your family and friends. We are bringing the concept of hybrid mobility to the wheelchair industry. Push when you want, go power when you need. Together, we can provide a better solution for more access and inclusion, transforming the lives of people with disabilities. Next slide.
All right, certainly an impressive career, and Todd's going to introduce us a little bit to the PowerFlex here.
Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Over my 35 years in a chair, I've seen great advancement with manual and our power chairs, but there's still a gap between the two. And we feel the PowerFlex bridges that gap for all individuals, active individuals in chairs. It's a lot more than just pushing. When you go from a manual chair to power, again, there's a lot more than just pushing. You've got your ride height and overall footprint. With the PowerFlex, it allows us to integrate more into the smaller footprint and access the real world. And to solve this problem, I designed the PowerFlex. It is the ultimate hybrid mobility solution, bridging the gap between our lightweight manual wheelchairs and the large dedicated power chairs, with user-activated manual tilt, suspension, and an intuitive joystick control. This device truly empowers users of all ages and abilities to push or go full power on their own terms. The key differentiators, as you see below, converts in 30 seconds, suspension, manual tilt. These are all key devices or key points that us active manual wheelchair users need. And please keep in mind that this fits chairs from 12 inches wide to 20-inch wide.
All right, so if you've been in the power assist market here recently, you know there's a lot of options and there's a lot of great innovation that's been coming out recently. One of the big things we've noticed, though, is a lot of the power assist is a straight line propulsion only. You're still using both of your hands to turn, to stop, and to start. And with a number of these, if you're in really tight places or busy with a lot of people, you end up turning them off because you need a little bit of momentum, a little bit of memory for that system to work. So they end up getting turned off, or like emotions, once those emotion wheels are on, they never come off and you never really go back to your ultralight chair. We've also seen the advancement of a couple joystick controlled units, great technology that's coming out. But on these items, what you're going to see is it's a manual chair trying to be power. And I think with PowerFlex, we've really found this nice middle ground of making a manual chair feel like a power chair. And we'll talk more about that as we go through the upcoming videos. So what we're going to talk about today is, while the PowerFlex is a power assist system coded as EO986, it's that and a lot more. And hopefully by the end, we're able to show you why that is, from its suspension, as we talked about, to manual tilt, and really being a compact power drive system. And with that, let's get into a couple of videos.
Hello, my name is Todd Hargroder, founder of Soul Mobility. On June.
All right, some technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Let's try again.
Hello, I'm Troy Tessmer with Soul Mobility, and today we're going to talk about the PowerFlex Power Base Attachment. It's a power assist that allows a manual wheelchair to be transformed to a power chair in under 30 seconds. And while it's in the power assist category, we're going to talk a lot about how it transforms a chair into a very capable, compact power chair. Over here, we have a standard rigid frame manual chair. As a user or a therapist, you know how important the seating, the back, and the positioning of that setup is for the user. whether it be the CG or the dump angle, we're going to make sure we maintain that as we come from the manual chair over to the PowerFlex, and we'll show you how that is done. All of that, once it's set up, is really controlled off the center point from the ground to the axle. And that's where we're going to be clicking into on the PowerFlex, and we'll show how we maintain that. To transform your manual chair to power, it's as easy as removing the quick release wheels, which are standard on all manual chairs. Simply set those aside. And then you're going to back the frame into the PowerFlex. Now we have little axle tray receivers that allow you to set the frame down into it. And then you simply come to these quick release pins and let those pop into place with a quarter turn. Once those are in, you attach the manual tilt bar on the back, tighten that up, and as easy as that, you've now transformed into a complete compact power chair. As you sit in the chair, you're going to notice a couple of features that are very specific and been designed by a user. Todd is a C5-6 quadriplegic and the designer behind the PowerFlex. So a lot of the features have been built into his everyday life of what he needs to get around in life. We'll start with the joystick. It very purposely sits below your leg line. If you can get under a desk or a table in your manual chair, we want to make sure the joystick doesn't interfere, so it sits purposely below your leg line. On here, you're going to see we have a Stealth Unilink positional joystick that's an option for the PowerFlex, and it does have a drop-down that allows for easy transfers, so you can get in and out of the chair just as you would with your manual. And what you have to remember is our target audience is that active wheelchair user, where their hands are in this position, pushing on a daily basis. So being down in this position, down where their hand rims are, is a very natural and comfortable position for most people. And I think as you get in it and trial it, you're going to find that it's in a great location. We are running a P&G Curtiss-Wright control system. It is programmable, and like a lot of power chairs, has a charging port right underneath. A lot of people ask why these armrests per se are shaped the way they are. In reality, they're not an armrest, but they're here to mimic your push tire or your push rim on your manual chair. They're at the same distance and the same diameter, such that your muscle memory as a wheelchair user, if you're used to using that for stability, or maybe for your transfers to a couch or something like that, is all in the same position, so you feel like you're in your natural settings. So in this configuration, you're going to notice the entire package is very compact. You're sitting in almost the same exact distance as you would from the front to the rear of your manual chair, which allows you to maneuver around your home without any changes. The joystick has 5 speed settings. Because we are hooked in through the axle receivers, we are a mid-wheel drive, and we have an extremely compact package that allows you to maneuver within your space. With 6 wheels on the ground, the entire system's going to flex and pivot as you go through troughs or even over things. It makes this an extremely stable machine. One of the really interesting and great parts about the PowerFlex is its compact size, as we've discussed. And I think that's really evident when you bring a wheel over and put it next to the system. So one, you're going to notice the axle center. Hello, I'm Troy Tessmer with Soul Mobility, and today we're going to talk about the PowerFlex Power Base Attachment. It's a power assist that allows a manual wheelchair to be transformed to a power chair in under 30 seconds. And while it's in the power assist category, we're going to talk a lot about how it transforms a chair into a very capable, compact power chair. Over here, we have a standard rigid frame manual chair.
All right, so there's a little intro to the PowerFlex and the overall system to kind of give you a little bit of a baseline. We're going to now get in a little bit more detail in regards to the tilt, suspension, and the drive wheel system. So let's cue that up, and we'll let you watch that here for a couple seconds.
So with your manual chair connected in through the axles, it gives you the ability to wheelie over thresholds like you might normally in your manual chair. your weight balance and your tippiness is identical to your manual chair. So you're going to float over obstacles. You're not front loading your casters, which is really critical. But being connected in through those axle receivers also gives you the ability to go into a full manual tilt, get over center, which lets you get that pressure off your sit bones from sitting all day. And you all know when you're sitting for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, getting off and pressure relieving is really critical. Also allows you to get your shoulders back, open your chest up, and just relax a little bit. And that's just a manual push of the system into that tilt. So really easy to do, really easy to set up, and allows a person to relax a little bit. As we come out of the chair, we'll talk about a few additional features. So the entire frame is on a suspension system that isolates the frame from the base and really takes out that shock and from bumps and thresholds that might come up through your spine and really cause kind of a additional stress on your body, because you're not going at 1 mile an hour anymore. You're now going 3 to 5 miles an hour in a power chair. So that suspension is really critical, and we're the only power assist on the market that has suspension. And as we move further back, we're running a 5-inch standard caster on the back. However, we can drop that in with a frog legs caster into the same exact package as an optional feature. And that just allows you to take out that additional vibration as you're going over those sidewalks, cracks, and bump, bump, bump. The suspension takes out a lot, but frog legs does give you the ability to really smooth out the ride even further. One of the things you'll also notice about the system is we're running on a nice wide 10-inch drive tire. And this gives you a lot of capability to get over those terrains that you might go in a park, grass, gravel, crushed cinder, and really gives this machine a lot of capability above just your home. As we talked about, the entire system is on that suspension. And when you put the whole unit together, you have that really compact power chair.
All right, so some pretty cool features there that really take the PowerFlex from just a power assist into that kind of next level and provide a lot of features that are going to help a person really have the comfort they need for all day power if they need that. With that, we have just one last video that talks a little bit about how we adjust the PowerFlex, get it set up, and some of its specs. Let me cue that up 1 second.
Taking it apart is as simple. You remove the back manual tilt. You pop out and quarter turn the quick release axles, and your frame comes out, allowing you to set it aside, put your wheels back on, and be in your manual configuration. We have a couple of adjustment points. So in the front, we simply have 2 nuts here that you can loosen, which allows the width to be changed, and we can adapt from a 12 to a 20-inch frame. And we do that through 3 models. We have a 12 to 14, a 15 to 17, and an 18 to 20. With that adjustment, it allows the user to be able to grow with the chair, whether it be up or down. So if you're a high school student and maybe you've grown 3-4 inches and now you're going off to college and you've gone from a 14 to a 16-inch chair, we easily can just simply swap out these 2 shafts and the entire system can grow with you, which is a great benefit of the PowerFlex to make sure it has longevity and can always work with whatever manual frame you're working with. The other 2 adjustment points we have is we talked about the height of this axle receiver. So right now we're at exactly 12 inches to mimic a 24-inch wheel, but that adjustment is simply done through 1 bolt right here. And we have 6 settings that allow this to go up and down from a 22-inch wheel to a 26-inch wheel, allowing you to dial in your dump angle exactly to your manual chair when you set this up. And then in the rear, we just have 1 single adjustment point to bring your tilt up to meet your rigidizer bar and give you that manual tilt function. If you do need to change your CG a little bit and make sure your wheels won't contact a manual to power, we do have 1 nut here that allows you to loosen this and bring this back and forth within this paddle adjuster. Once that's locked into place and your chair is going in and out, These do pivot so you can go 0 to 4 degrees of camber, but in that position, it also allows you to completely fold these down. And now this entire package is really easy and quick to put into a trunk of a car, a small SUV, and really gives us a lot of travel flexibility. The weight of the unit is about 115 pounds, so it is a two-person lift, or if you have a boom lift that has 150 to 200 pound capacity, you can continue to use that, or a number of transit lifts, or I personally just use a set of wheelchair ramps to get in and out of my vehicle and drive it right up. But because of its compact size, it really opens up the amount of vehicles and the types of vehicles you can travel with. And with just a little bit of help versus a 400-pound power chair, you can travel the world. Thanks. Have a great day.
All right. Appreciate everyone's patience and walking through that and learning a little bit about the PowerFlex. We're now just going to summarize a few of those points, and then we will get into the coding part.
Okay, so I cannot stress enough how important ride height is. And with the PowerFlex and the adjustment built into it, we can adjust the PowerFlex to meet the ride height of my manual chair. So I'm not changing my back angle, my seat dump, anything. So it's a seamless transition from manual to power, which gives me the ability to then seamlessly be manual or power without any change. And please keep in mind as well that this is a change in function. You're going from a manual mobility base to a full joystick driven power base. So with that, you can even in the power configuration, lower the dump a little bit more to allow you to sit back and lean back more to have more comfort throughout our long days in the chair. This slide here shows the really important design features that matter. Maintaining that ride height, which we just mentioned, the manual tilt, the compact size allows me to go anywhere I want to go. And that frame suspension is just extremely important to isolate that vibration that comes up through our low back all day long as we're rolling across, even inside the tiles, the different things that we roll across throughout the day. And the pediatric through a jolt is really going to broaden the expansion and use of this device. Go ahead, Troy.
All right, so let's get into the million-dollar question that a lot of people might have, and that's going to be around coding and insurance. So as we talked about, this is a power assist and so much more, and the coding strategy really supports that. So we are coded and code verified by PDAC as an EO 986 power assist, but the coding strategy as we work through the product is really going to be an EO 986 plus a KO 108 plus a KO 108. And then you can also do an E1032 for that swing away joystick. Now on the manual tilt system, we are code verified from PDAC. We did submit that through as a separate function as a KO 108. And on the suspension, we've submitted that as well, and that is still pending with them. But it doesn't mean you can't currently write a letter of medical necessity for suspension that goes through and submit the PowerFlex through with that KO 108 today. Our order form, as you set it up and look at it, was we're going to have the base system, but then we are under options going to have that swing away joystick, suspension, and tilt. And they're in the optional category because that is what allows you to write that letter of medical necessity and be able to justify it as a separate feature that the client needs. And then just for a little bit of a different view, so you can kind of see the stack up from top to bottom, is we have the EO 986 up top. We have the two features of the suspension and manual tilt, and then the swing away joystick to give you a total MSRP of $12,500. As that comes through reimbursement and insurance, feel free to reach out to us. We can get you a quote so you can actually see what your price might be as a dealer, whether you're through NSM, New Motion, or any of the independent dealers that are there. If you're with the VA and joining us today, coding doesn't apply to you, but reach out to us as well, and we can make sure we get you a quote. So real quick, I want to talk about those two features, the manual tilt system. As we talked about, it is a user activated. It does get you beyond that 25 to 30 degree tilt. It's going to vary depending on the chair setup, but we typically see it somewhere between 30 and probably 45 degrees is where we end up with the user. And it really facilitates, as you guys know, that pressure relief, position changes, and it makes sure we don't front load your casters in your day-to-day rolling. We all know the clinical benefits of tilt. Whether you guys all work with tilt and space chairs, you work with power tilt, so this isn't new. For full-time users, it's really about pressure management and being able to get off that sit bones. And for effective pressure management, it's been published that your tilt must be greater than 20. The user, should be offloading for a minute or two at a time, and really should be doing that every 30 minutes. So if you have a person that's struggling to push, their shoulders hurt, their hands hurt, maybe they have carpal tunnel or wrist issues. If they're struggling to push, I can bet they're probably struggling to do their daily pressure management in a manual chair, making this a needed benefit for them. And then on the suspension side, remember, as Todd said, we have this change in function from a person pushing at a half mile to maybe 1 mile an hour to now a power chair going 3 to 5. And those bumps, the thresholds, any little thing that they hit is going to be a lot different under speed versus when they were pushing. So this suspension system isolates the frame from the power base, and we're kind of similar to a Group 3 power chair. In a Group 3 power chair, suspension is mandatory, and it's mandatory for drivability, for the change in function due to speed, and for safety. So it's very similar to the transition of going into a Group 3 power chair. The justification is here for the PowerFlex as well, and reduces that vibration and shock to the low back, upper extremities, and really that fatigue and skin shear that we see from not having suspension. And none of the other power assists on the market provide a suspension or a manual tilt. And that's why we are a little bit different, and why we're really pushing this hybrid mobility type of situation where you can push or go power when needed. Swing weight joystick, you guys are all familiar with an E1032. It does swing down out of the way for transfers. It has a lock position in the bottom. It is height adjustable. And then we do offer both a quad or a para release for that drop down function. Coming soon, we are working on a multi-positional joystick, as we talked about in the video. We're working with Stealth Products on that using their Unilink system. I would guess that'll be available sometime in the next quarter as we get that finalized. For most people pushing, you're going to find that the standard off-the-shelf system is in a very ergonomic and good position for them. But for those users that might need it shifted a little bit, we will have an option for you. All right, so summary, putting all that together, EO986 PowerFlex, plus a KO108 manual tilt, plus a KO108 suspension, and an E1032 for the drop-down joystick. The casters, we do have an option on our order form to drop in a Frog Legs caster system for a little bit of additional suspension. If you were to utilize that option, there is an E1016 code that could be utilized for suspension in the rear caster system. All right, so resources. We've done our best to put a plethora of resources out there. On our website, you can find some videos, you can find our product brochure, our order form, as well as our setup guide for installation and our user manual. You can also go out to our YouTube channel, and our YouTube channel, I'd recommend going to playlist. Under there, we have a number of great videos in regards to just daily use, Todd rolling with friends, as well as instructional videos that are out there with texts and specs and features, how to set your PowerFlex up, how the manual tilt works. A lot of stuff is out there, and we will continue to add to that, including the in-service videos that we just saw today as we move forward. And there's a link down there that you can hit for either of those as they come up. Also, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're out there on all three and would love to hear from you, hear your stories, and things like that. Let's open it up to Q&A at this time. So let's take a look at anything you guys want to know or questions you might have that we didn't cover. So one of the things I'll start us off with is we do get a question from time to time in regards to the weight of the unit. As we stated, it is a 115 pound unit, kind of a two-person lift. As we went through and made design considerations, we really wanted this to be a capable, sturdy power chair once converted. And one thing that's great about having that weight is when you put it underneath of the axle and underneath of the user, it makes it like a magnet to the ground, where this unit on side hills, inclines, turning at speed is very capable, because we've taken the CG of the entire unit and really brought it down to the axle or camber tube location. So that's one of the benefits of that. We are running two U1 batteries, lead acid, and then we are running gear-driven motors, very similar to a Group 3, to have that longevity and durability. One question that came up, is it compatible with a rigid monoframe only? So it's not compatible with folding frame chairs. It is compatible with pretty much every rigid frame chair that we've tried from the major manufacturers. And Todd, do you know the question on this, like with towel bar, what that means?
The towel bar would mean the rigidizer bar,
Okay.
and it is the mono frames are preferred because you just have to choose a frame that there's no frame members below the camber tube, because you can see how it attached it in the camber tube. We need all that room down there to for the power base itself to fit. So the Z-type frames are certainly the mono, the single tubular frames are the best.
And Todd, I did have a question that came in recently, and I think what this is referring to as well. There's one or two custom chair manufacturers that actually don't put a rigidizer bar behind the backrest. And in that situation, we probably will have a compatibility issue, because we do need to be able to get the manual tilt mounted to the back of the chair for both your safety as well as the tilt function. Would that be a correct statement, Todd?
Yes, it would. And even in some of those situations, there are attachable rigidizer bars that you can attach to chairs like that. But for a lightweight, custom-made manual chair, I would certainly recommend speccing in that rigidizer bar so it makes it a nice, easy attachment. No tools or adapters required.
Right. Quick question. What kind of batteries does it use? We are running a U1 35 amp hour lead acid battery. Standard off the shelf MK battery system, easy to replace, easy to find. You can go to Batteries Plus, you can go to MK Battery, you can go to Amazon and find them. Just make sure you have the right post system. So when you go to replace that battery, it'll fit underneath the battery cover and everything like that. With that, we do get a pretty solid, pretty close to 12-mile range. Obviously depends on your terrain and how you're using it. And then it gives you that nice decay so that you never find yourself in trouble. All right, quick question. Tell me more about pediatric applications. So we have fit a couple of clients up in the pediatric sector, and we can go to a 12-inch frame. Some 11s we would have to make sure we can get small enough on the width. In a pediatric setting, it's preferable if they have a 24-inch wheel. We can go down to 22, but as we go down to 22, we have to be careful on anything mounted to the camber tube, or maybe the towers that the camber tube's attaching to the chair on. We do start getting a little bit tighter in some of those applications, so we'd want to look at them more closely. But we have fit up a number of 12-inch by 24-inch wheels without a lot of issue. And I'll address it right now in case it doesn't come up. In pediatrics, we also see a need for transit. If you're riding a school bus or things like that, we are in the middle of our transit evaluation. I hope in the next quarter we'll have our testing done through the University of Michigan, and we're working with a couple of the chair manufacturers right now on working with their transit approved chairs and then going through the testing ourselves so we can get transit approval. If the pediatric application doesn't require it, we're ready to go and can fit up a person though. All right, I am not a ATP or clinician, nor is Todd, but we will answer this to the best of our ability. Is 30 degrees of tilt sufficient for pressure relief for most users as an alternative to manual methods?
I'll take that one, Troy.
Yep.
And I would say, all users are different. For me, being in a chair 35, almost 40 years now, 30 plus degrees is sufficient for me. We're supposed to do these pressure reliefs every 30 minutes or so, which, in the real world, that does not happen very often. But, for someone of my level and many, I mean, just doing that pressure relief is quite difficult. So, as in lifting up our traditional pressure reliefs. So this, in combination of the traditional pressure reliefs, will allow an individual to manage their pressure reliefs so much more frequently, as well as just being able to lean back, take a load off your bottom, but also lean back and open up your chest. Most of the things that we do throughout the day, we're in a forward motion. We're pushing forward, we're leaning forward. So with the manual tilt on these long phone calls or just throughout that day, I'm able to easily lean back, take a load off, stretch my shoulders and neck back for, heck, if it's even 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, it's better than nothing. So the manual tilt really facilitates the ability to decrease that pressure on your bottom, throughout your back, and so forth.
And I guess I would add to that is because you're in your exact same seating position and in your manual tilt or in your manual chair, if you wanted to use some of those alternative manual pressure relieving, maybe it's leaning forward over a desk, maybe it's lifting yourself up, you still can. And with the armrest, as we talked about, positioned where your push rims are, it's all right there for you to be able to continue doing in addition to having the tilt. All right, so can we program the device? Yes, we are using a Curtiss-Wright P&G controller system. Through the bottom XLR plug, you can put in a handheld programmer for Curtiss-Wright and bring up their application to do acceleration, deceleration, turning accelerations, as well as min-max speeds on the dealer side of the equation. And actually at a recent in-service, we actually plugged in their handheld programmer and we're able to walk through some of those settings. So it is programmable.
And I've spent quite a bit of time with the program just trying to define what exactly is needed for us active users. And speed 1 and 2, I kind of reserve for my care providers. For people that are not used to driving a power chair, we have those speeds 1 and 2 really slow. And then 3 through 5 and 6 are my speeds. Those are the speeds. My indoor speed would be the middle of the road, 5, and then 4, and then 5, 6 are outdoor with people, and then the high speed of getting out of the way of traffic or crossing streets or just blasting down the road. So it's very programmable. Again, we've spent a good amount of time to tweak that and hit that sweet spot, but you can certainly adjust it to your own needs as well.
Pop this one up here. So do chair manufacturers have issues with warranty of the frame with the use of this type of power application? I would say in general, from looking across the user manuals of manual chair companies, the addition of power assist can cause issues with the warranty regardless of the power assist. Obviously, the frames and everything were designed and tested towards the manual user. We have completely tested this through double drum, through PDAC, through both manual and power chair applications with a manual chair on it. But from the manufacturer, if this is a large concern for you, you will want to check your manual chair manufacturer's requirements for warranty and make that personal decision of how you want to progress. So the PowerFlex does have a warranty, obviously. It's 5 year on the frame, 1 year standard warranty on most other items. So I would say that would be my recommendation of kind of how the industry is sitting in general in regards to power assist.
But one thing we can keep in mind with that, because of us attaching into the camber tube, the frame, the manual frame is still pivoting off of the CG that it's set up on when it's on wheels. So if you can easily wheelie over threshold bumps and cracks in your manual configuration, you'll be able to do the same in the power configuration. So we're not front loading the casters like some of the other attachment power devices have in the past. This one allows our manual frames, again, to pivot and function as they would on wheels. So that does decrease the amount of shock load and that those front casters take. And that's an important part of the design of this device.
And that would go with caster wear as well. That is a question I get a lot in regards to caster wear. Obviously, you're going faster and maybe covering more terrain, but we're not loading the front caster. So you're going to get similar wear to you would in your manual configuration because we're not adding extra weight to that front caster in any way. We're still pivoting on that same CG. While we're waiting for any more questions that might come in regards to transportation, maybe you have a boom lift, a power lift currently in your vehicle. Because we're the same package and we're only 115 pounds, you'll still be able to utilize pretty much any lift system you have. And then we're also in conversations and working with both Bruno and Harmar in regards to making sure we are compatible with their platform lifts, of which we've already been approved for, and their boom lifts. And most of their boom lifts have a 150 to 200 pound limit on them. So lifting the PowerFlex with a boom lift isn't a problem at all. And because the package is so small, it can be lifted and put into the back of a minivan, a small SUV, or things like that. I travel personally with a Honda Pilot, and with the chair attached, I can use a set of wheelchair ramps and power it up into the back of the vehicle with everything still attached. When I travel, and Todd can talk about his travel, when I travel by myself with the unit, I check the unit at the gate typically, up with my luggage. It goes through, it comes through on the other end it's been traveling very well. But when I get out to my Uber driver, he looks at me like I'm crazy. Like, how am I going to put a power chair into my Chevy Malibu? And by simply removing the manual frame from the PowerFlex, folding it down as you saw in the video, me and one other person lift it up, put it in the trunk. We take our wheels and the frame, they all go in the vehicle, and away we go. So I've been able to travel the entire country by myself with the PowerFlex as an able-bodied person with no issues, just asking for a little help once in a while to lift it into the back of a vehicle. And then on my own personal transit, I use wheelchair ramps, as we talked about.
For me, on my day-to-day travels, I drive a van with a lift, and I use the lift to go up in the van, and then with the 6-way power seat, I'm able to transfer over, and the chair stays in the back. When I travel abroad, I'm typically with somebody, and the PowerFlex is small enough that we're able to go on a Southwest plane, back up to that front row, and transfer over. So in many cases and on many flights, we've been able to avoid the need of the aisle chair by being able to access that first seat. Once we get to our destination, we can go out and, in the perfect world, we find a wheelchair accessible cab, but as we all know, that doesn't happen every time. So as Troy, we call up the Uber driver shows up, and then with minimal assistance, getting into the vehicle as well as loading the chair in the back, we're able to travel and do what we need to do. In some situations, I've traveled with two power bases, and we're able to fit both of those as well as all of my stuff in the back of a small SUV or minivan and can go down the road. So it's very travel friendly and allows us, again, to have that hybrid option of being able to push or go power as we need, whether you're at home or on the road.
And then not a question that came in, but one I've had a couple of times. What if my battery does die? Can the unit be pushed with a chair attached to it? And the answer is yes. Both of the wheel motors have a motor release on it that allow you to then simply freewheel the unit, and it's a very smooth push when it's all put together. And many times that's how I will take the unit, in and out of an in service or even through the airport, is just pushing it through because I'm not sitting in it and powering it. Any of you that have taken a power chair around know how hard it is to navigate a power chair not sitting in it. So being able to release those wheel locks is really easy.
I'll take this next one, Troy, if you want to.
Yeah, this is a great question.
So in the event of a slide board transfer, can the hand rims be moved by the end user for a lateral transfer? So the hand rims themselves, they mimic the diameter of our wheel. So as I would transfer in my manual configuration, I slide out past those hand rims and then slide over. I need the hand rims in place to use to push, and that's how I use my transfer. So, one answer to that is no, you cannot remove them, but keep in mind that they are in the same place as a tire would be in your manual configuration.
And then with that drop down joystick, it moves completely out of the way so you can transfer right or left side. Something else that just popped into my mind and I forgot what it was regarding transfers. But if it comes to me, I'll let you know.
Well, a moment ago, Troy talked about the motors and being able to unlock the motors. That's certainly one thing that during airline travel and after I back down that aisle transfer over to the seat, we certainly drop down the joystick, and our standard joystick that drops down does have a locking feature. So we drop it down and it locks in the bottom position, and then we unlock the motors, and that allows the flight attendants or the people at the airlines to easily push the chair off of the plane, down the jetway, and then stow it for storage. And a key point of this when it comes to travel is that it is small enough. Again, it's the same footprint as a manual chair, as well as the overall height from the floor to the top of the back. So unlike a standard power chair, they have to be turned on their sides to fit through the cargo door on a plane. The PowerFlex, with its frame mounted on it, typically fits upright through the side bay door going into the cargo bay, and it certainly certainly lowers the risk of damage to our chairs while we travel. And having that joystick controller drop down and locked out of the way helps protect that controller as well during the airline flights.
And then a quick question on the joystick. I assume that you're talking about the optional positional joystick. That does have a drop down feature as well that then locks it in a down position with a small red little toggle that allows that Unilink to drop down or to come up. And then our standard system, as Todd just explained, has a drop down that locks in the bottom position as well.
And yes, it's very important to have these controllers drop down. That way, for those lateral transfers, whether it's the left side or right side, the controller, the joystick is out of the way.
All right, we've reached about 50 minutes. We don't have to use the entire hour. We can let people finish their lunch or whatever they might be doing. If you have any other questions, certainly reach out to either Todd or myself and the team. We'd be happy to help them. Also, you can go out to our website at any time. I put a quick link down there below that you can click on. There you can either subscribe to our newsletter or you can request a demo and let us know what area you're in. We have reps covering a good portion of the country, not the entire country, but we are setting up demos, doing in-services, and out educating right now across the entire US. So we really look forward to meeting you, sharing more about the PowerFlex, and seeing how we can help patients out there have a hybrid lifestyle of pushing and power, because we just know there's a need and a gap in the market that we're excited to be out here and helping people with their mobility. Todd, any last words?
No, I just want to thank everybody for their time today, and certainly keep us in mind for whether it's a newly injured individual or somebody that's been pushing for many, many years. I mean, this device for me has, filled that gap, has opened up a world that, I didn't know I had. It's broken down many barriers. I'm able to go further, faster, and longer without fatigue and pain to my upper body. So it's a great design, it's a great product, and we certainly look forward to more to come in the future.
And Mark, we do have a rep in the Colorado Rocky Mountain area, so feel free to reach out and we can get you in contact with that person. So, all right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. If you weren't able to join, I hope you'll get the recording here soon. And like I said, reach out if you have a question. Thanks, everybody, and have a wonderful day.